Welcome everyone to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tara. We talk about TV shows here. The year is 2022 and the name of the show is Babylon 5, and I am so proud I said 2022 there because I almost said 2021. I'm adjusting. I'm adjusting. This is season 4, episode 3. It's called The Summoning. So full spoilers for the episode as always. Big advancements in this one again. It feels like that's just going to be a trend this season where every episode there's just big plot advancements because there's so much going on. And we have more stuff with Londo and G'Kar. We'll talk about that in Centauri Prime. We'll talk about the rising kind of like resistance to what Delenn wants to do on the station. Obviously there's some big returns and a whole host of things. And we also have Tara's favorite romance blossoming between one Cole and Ivanova.
We'll call him by his first name when he earns it. He has not earned it yet.
Oh dear. I loved at the start of the episode though, because like Ivanova was like okay, let's go and look for some more like ancient races, right? There must be some more kicking about. Let's see if we can get some powerful allies in this fight. They
talked about like finding a first one last year, and I don't know if my brain has just erased it or if I just never realized that happened in the show. But do you remember them coming across the first one?
Yeah. They were in I think they were in the White Star. There was like a big, yeah.
Okay.
There was a thing. Yes, I remember.
There was a thing.
Yes.
Okay.
But she's going out looking for potentially some that she can contact or form allies with. It's a funny little scene actually because she mentions that she's been learning Minbari. She doesn't need an escort or a translator because she's been trying to learn Minbari. And she says some, and she's basically saying stuff that she would say on a ship, you know, engines, you know, full steam ahead, whatever. And it starts off okay, it's stilted, but it's okay. And then like the last sentence turns into like mechanical lingerie or something like that. And
she John Dakers it.
Yeah. I love the end of the scene, which is Delenn just looks at Cole and says, "Tell the crew if anyone laughs, they will answer to me." I was like, oh, that's kind of sweet.
I love how Delenn is like, oh, you should take Cole, and she's like, anybody else, please.
Yes.
And I'm on my couch going, yes, please, anybody else.
I thought of you when Ivanova's sentiment was, I don't want him to come. I was like, yep, yes, I can hear Tara speaking through her right now.
Do not want.
So yeah, they go out on their little mission and they search some sectors. They have a couple of moments where they maybe bond heart to heart. I don't know if that's quite the right term in this case.
He's in love with her.
I will say, so there's one scene with them I liked, there was one that I didn't so much. The one that I liked, he actually has a pretty good little joke at one point, a little flirty joke where they say, oh, we should go out to this sector, whatever number it is, and they say, oh yeah, people have reported godlike beings or seeing godlike entities out there, or I think it was seeing something godly. I think it was the actual phrase that was used. And Cole says, and since neither me or you were out there, has to be an ancient race. And I thought, you know what, that wasn't bad.
I didn't care for it.
I thought that was a decent attempt at some flirty banter, but okay, you weren't a fan. Okay, Ivanova smiled. She seemed to like it.
I mean, she's stuck in a room with him. Like, what else is she gonna do?
The scene I wasn't as hot.
You don't want to upset him, you know. He might start whacking sticks.
He might get that old that pike out. I wonder if she'll like his pike as much as G'Kar did.
Hate it.
Yeah.
Nope.
I admit it was a bad joke, but you know what? It's the phrase "pikelet envy." Pikelet envy is like ingrained into my brain. I'm never going to forget the phrase "pikelet envy."
Are you gonna like this character because of that phrase?
No. Don't worry. I'm still Team Zach. Not necessarily for a romance with Ivanova, but for some reason we seem to have turned our comment section into Team Zach or Team Cole. And I'm Team Zach.
Always Team Zach.
Yes. So No, the scene I wasn't as hot on though was when like she's a bit dense to get that he's talking about her when she's asking, because he's like, oh, is there anyone special back home? And she's like, nah, not really. My one true love, Talia, was taken from me. So,
and she's working on Bridge Boy still.
Yeah. Trying to break him, I guess. I think she wants like a 50 Shades of Red state with Bridge Boy.
Oh my.
Yes. Yes, she's the Mr. Grey in the relationship, just if that wasn't clear.
And the Red State.
And the Red State, yes. I was going for a Russian joke. I was trying to... is that part when you're doing a joke like that, when I'm like, okay, I can somehow like do the title 50 Shades of Grey, but related to whatever. I'm like, oh, Russian, Red State, yes! Like...
Nailed it. First try. Perfect.
That's the flawless planning, execution, and after analysis of a joke. The trifecta of any good joke. Anyway.
Are you done groveling in your own cleverness?
I mean, I can always enjoy that for a bit longer, but I'll move on for the sake of the
reveling,
audience.
That's what I meant to say, not groveling.
Yes.
Reveling.
Who am I groveling to?
I'm tired. I so often use words appropriately anyway.
And ironically, you meant to say inappropriately.
Shut up. Let's just start over.
Not a chance. This is gold. This is all staying in.
I meant it sarcastically.
Yes. The Tommy Wiseau defense. It was meant to be a comedy. So no, like, and she's like, okay, do you have anyone back home special to call? And he's like, yeah, there's someone. And she's like, oh, yeah, she doesn't know it yet. It's like, okay. So this is romantic, though. You're gonna try and woo her. It's like, yes, well, I'm in love with her, and she's so special. And I can't remember exactly what he says, but it's so clear he's talking about her, and she's just like not getting it. And he's got that sly little smile that he's got when he's being cheeky about his romance with Ivanova. And then she mentions this. I've not felt that way since my first time. And then he reveals that he's been celibate. He's been a space monk all these years. So he's never had a relationship. So
he said he's never met the right woman before.
Yes,
which is not a great excuse.
I mean, he has been trapped up learning Minbari and fighting with that pike stick this whole time.
No wonder he's so good at it.
So, I mean, I hate to say it, but I think after this episode, I'm kind of convinced that we're going down this path. Like, up until this point, I thought it was...
I don't understand why she's so intrigued that he's never had, like, any women before. Where she's just like, oh, I just suspected, since you're such a ladies' man, since you're always so like Don Juan.
I think the reason why it maybe feels a bit weird, especially, is it's not like all these characters on this show have like super active sex lives where they're constantly like talking about their dating life or anything like that. And I'm not saying I want that. I'm just saying you don't get the vibe that Ivanova has been having lots of one night stands or like whatever since the show started. It feels like she's too busy with work. If anything, it feels like she would relate more to this idea that he's been too busy to pursue that than anyone else because she is so career driven.
I mean, she still finds time for a Bridge Boy.
Okay, we're moving on. We're moving on. So the big plot point, though, that they actually stumble into is they find it's hiding in hyperspace. They find an entire fleet of Vorlon ships, including like a mothership that we've never seen. Because like I sort of recognize the little ships as Vorlon ships, but then it like pulls back and you see this big, huge behemoth of a ship, and that's like the
they're using
one.
Some sort of new to them anyway technology that but they're able to pick it up because the ship that they're in is partially Vorlon technology.
Yeah, well, one of the big things of this episode is that we're getting the impression more and more that Kosh was sympathetic to humans and the other races, but the Vorlons at large are kind of more like just dicks. Like, they'll use us if there's a use for us, but they have no problem with us being collateral damage in some bigger war, which is kind of the big point we get to by the end. But which probably leads us nicely into our poor story. I felt so bad this episode. Did you?
Jakar?
No, well, for him too. I was thinking more the poor woman living alone with nothing but a mattress.
Oh yeah, poor Lita. You're right. She is super sympathetic in this.
This made it feel like this is like your like Kosh 9000 slave. You have nothing but a mattress. You just go when he bids it. You're not allowed to do anything else. She's been physically
altered by the Vorlons to better serve him specifically.
Yeah, this felt really nasty, and like, you know, I think Delenn comes to her early on and asks her to try and find out what the Vorlons are up to, if they got something planned. She's asked for like ships to help with this big attack on Zahadum, and she's not heard back yet. And Lita's like, I'll try and ask, but like I'm just kind of scared to be honest, because like he gives me the willies, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Which leads to a really kind of intimidating scene where she does try to ask, and we commented this last time that whenever she is transferring like Kosh 9000 back into himself, she looks really sickly, weak. It's not like with, you know, the original Kosh. Although
she's got like gills on her neck.
I did think there was one really unfortunate line here that I can't believe the actress said with a straight face.
Yeah, I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, could have phrased it better.
I think it might be intentional. Like, this might be a rape.
Shall we clarify what the line is then? Now that you've phrased it that way, I feel like we have to say what it was. So after he's done, as she puts it, pulling out, but she says he pulled out too fast and it hurt, and it was hard not to hear that as a very sexual line of dialogue. And given how, and it's funny, like I made a 50 Shades of Grey joke, like, you know, a couple of minutes ago, and weirdly, I actually did think a little bit of like when I said she's like a slave and she's only got a mattress, it did kind of feel like this like dominant, like, and submissive relationship. Like there was kind of that vibe to it.
He's just using her.
Yeah. Not necessarily. I don't mean specifically sexual, but like just the dynamic and the relationship between them feels that way. So maybe it is intentional that it does sound that sexual, but I wasn't taking a drink, but if I was, I might have spit take at that line because it was so like on the nose.
Yeah.
The way she phrased it. But yeah. So,
I mean, he is literally inside her, using her as a tool to get something that he needs. So I mean, maybe it could just be rape. Like they want it to be. JMS wants you to make that association.
I mean, I suppose you could say it started off consensual because she had this purpose. She was doing it with Kosh previously, but over time it's become this, no, you come and do this because I demand it now. And it's, you know, like maybe it's that kind of thing where, like, for someone who's in like an abusive relationship, you don't necessarily realize where that line's been crossed, where you've become kind of a victim to the other person. I don't know if there's.
It's true. I mean, the way that she looked at Kosh before, like there could have been some sort of, I don't know about like love is the right word for it, but there's definitely like a
spiritual connection.
Thing happening.
Yeah. Like, it's like she's not like having an orgasm when like Kosh was like transferring to her, but it was like
it seemed to be like this is a beautiful experience for her.
This is like a tranquil, like she's learning something about herself and humanity every time it happens, and like you know, she's seeing the lights.
New and exciting.
It's do you know what it is? It's the scene from 2001 where she's going through Jupiter, right? That's the scene every time she's with Kosh. But when she's with him, it's more like she's going through like a David Lynch nightmare of like absurd like pinhead looking monsters and stuff. I don't know.
It's a Clive Barker novel.
Yeah, Clive Barker meets David Lynch with a tinge of Cronenberg or something. I don't like.
Ooh, yikes!
Take your pick. But the scene ends quite nasty as well, though, because she basically tries to ask and says, you know, like, you're just using me. Kosh was more forthcoming. I mean, he wasn't that forthcoming, but at least she felt like comfortable with Kosh. And when he refuses,
she seemed to be in on his like deceptions to everybody else also.
Yeah, she seemed to be in more of the secret than everyone else was, whereas here she's completely shut out. And when she asks for answers, says she deserves them because of what she does for him, he, I think the line she uses is respect or something to that effect, and
Yeah.
he says
He's
like,
just not amused by that.
yeah, he basically mocks her in his own Vorlon way, and she says, "Screw this, psychic powers activate," and she tries to
Yeah,
read
she's
him.
just gonna scan him.
Yeah, and he like realizes this and blasts her with his eye.
I thought he was gonna kill her. Honestly,
Yeah, it felt that
she seemed like she was gonna get vaporized for a moment.
yeah, because of the visual effect, I can see why you think that. I mean, but to compare it back to again just like an abusive relationship, this felt like being backhanded for like asking like twice kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the
Yeah.
sort of like feeling it gave you. So it felt uncomfortable. So the scene's really good. Like, you know, we're comparing it to all these dark things, and I'm not doing it that just because it made me think of it. I'm saying it made me feel the uncomfort of the same level of that, and it feels intentional. So
Mhm.
very good. Very good.
Poor Lita. Yeah.
Yeah, poor Lee's having a rough time. Hopefully she gets some revenge on Kosh 9000.
Yeah. The next episode is just I spit on your grave.
She's gonna stab him in that red eye. Okay. Get a hold of Cole's pike and stab him in the eye.
All right, let's move on.
All right. So yeah, so that's two plots then. Obviously, I'll kind of tie in at the end, which is why I'm leaving kind of the end points of them all off. Garibaldi comes back. They get a location based on the information they got from what Jakar found, because Cole obviously had that when he came back with him, and Zach actually leads the squad out. Zach gets a little rescue mission to go and do. He's like, I'm going to save
So glad
Garibaldi.
to see our number one guy,
Yeah.
Zach Allen, to the rescue.
At least number one space above Cole, at the very least. And he goes out, and the way I read this scene, because they jettison an escape pod that has Garibaldi on it, whoever the ship is, because it turns out he's on a ship, right? Which I don't know if we theorized a couple of planets last night. I don't know if we said ship, but it doesn't really matter. On a ship. We did forget to mention that the person who came in the cell afterwards, though, was wearing a Psychor badge, which I did notice in the episode. I just forgot it. It just escaped my head when we were talking about it. But the way I read this scene is that because they fire at the engines to try and disable it, and they theorize, oh, maybe we just hit like a system or something. You know, they pulled the Luke Skywalker, that one part of the Death Star that's going to make it blow up, kind of thing. I read this as, no, they're covering their tracks. They want not a shred of evidence that anyone can like take from this ship. And then sadly, the other thing that I think I'm getting from this episode is that they have made Garibaldi a sleeper agent. I think he's been programmed.
Yeah, he's been Manchurian candidated.
And because you get that little hint before
Naked Gun guy in the Dodgers. Dodgers or Angels?
I don't remember what the team was, but I do remember the scene
I must
of
kill the queen.
of Leslie Nielsen going around and patting down all the players and pretending to be the umpire. So it's a wonderful scene. It's a wonderful piece of cinema, quite frankly.
Well, the best part is when he sings the national anthem. Bunch of bombs in the air. Great film. Classic.
Yes, Naked Gun, very good. But there's that moment before he wakes up where you hear like a voice saying, 3, 2, 1, initiate, and it's like, oh, like there's something. And because it was making me think to the scene he had in the last episode where it recontextualized it for me, because now I'm thinking they kept asking him what he remembered and he couldn't remember what happened after he left Babylon 5, because that's them checking to make sure they've wiped his memory rather than them wanting to know what happened. Like, so it kind of recontextualized that scene. So I think that's the point, because when he wakes up here and then Medbay, it's like, well, do you remember anything that happened after he left his system? He's like, no. I think that was them checking to make sure that he was wiped. Yeah. So
he seems to be getting some PTSD flashbacks, but ultimately, whenever questioned about if he's okay, he always says yes.
I think what I like about this plot, I like the idea that he is going to ultimately be able to fight this by the end. And it'll feel really big because of how Talia went out. Because he cared about Talia, right? And Talia, effectively became lost to them because she came to this conditioning that she was given. And I don't know how he'll fight it, because, Talia was like a powerful telepath and she succumbed to it. But the fact that he's having these little flashbacky moments or whatever makes me think that he is going to be able to kind of like resist in some way.
Yeah, maybe with some help.
Yeah, with some help. Maybe it'll be like, you know, like in his head.
Could even
Xavier
be
style.
Ivanova.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
maybe.
she might have some ability to help shut it down, or just sense it.
Yeah. Because we know she's got some telepath abilities in there that she keeps on the down low.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but no, it was nice seeing Zach happy when he woke up. You know, Zach was delighted
He had
that his
a
friend
job,
was back.
had
Yeah.
a purpose.
It was nice. You know, Franklin was happy he was back because it was good news. I love Garibaldi like putting on his uniform, and like, you know, when everyone's like rushing it towards the end of the episode and he can barely walk, and Zach's like, "You shouldn't be out of bed. What are you doing?" He's like, "I don't care. Carry me. I want to see what's going on."
Yeah.
So, all good stuff.
I wonder what their big plan is. Just to have like eyes and ears on the inside, or to murder?
I imagine when the time is right, they'll probably try to get him to kill Sheridan or someone else that's important that they need to take out.
Maybe Kosh 9000, since we know Morden was working with Bureau 13, if they're still a thing.
Yeah, I suspect they are. Yeah, that's interesting. Actually, it's interesting to think, because I mean, that's the other big thing of this episode is we learn that, you know, the Vorlons and the Shadows are the ones really at war, and it's kind of becoming like we're all going to be annihilated because we're going to be collateral in the wake of their destruction.
Well, it sounds like they kind of want to start fresh. So they're just going to wipe out everybody who knows anything about them.
Yeah. Cut out the infection, as Franklin, and this obviously all happens after Sheridan. And I guess we are just calling him Lurian, the alien dude. They flat out say it in this episode, but they arrive, and this is the sort of thing where obviously I think you're meant to get who it is. I think I got it.
You can see their hairs,
Yeah.
or Sheridan's hair, and you know, the guy's forehead.
Yeah, even before that, the second they said the ship had like the codes to like open the docking bay, I was okay, it's Sheridan. Like this is Sheridan after he's been saved. This is them. They found the ship on Zahad-Dum, and this is with them coming in. Which, and I do hope we learn a little bit more about this. It doesn't have to be soon. It can be, you know, it can be something Sheridan like confesses later about his experience to Delenn. You know, at some crucial romantic moment or something. But I do hope we hear a little bit more about it at some point. But you know, we ended last episode with this idea of hoping that he has something to like live for. And you know, when he says he died and he got better, like I still don't think he's being completely literal in that sense. Maybe we'll find out otherwise as time goes on, but I kind of take it as more of a metaphorical death than a literal death. Okay. So, but yeah, he comes in just as Delenn's having to try and argue that they do have to go after Zahad-Dum, but some Drazi assholes like going, they're going to get us all killed, we should stop this right now. And Sheridan makes his grand entrance. They tease it with the footsteps and everything. He walks in, and Delenn's looking up at him like, my angel. And Sheridan makes a speech that is basically on the idea that, you know, I went to Zahad-Dum, I survived, I came back, I'm proof it can be done, I'm the only one who has done it. Which is interesting because in the Minbari War, he was the only one who like destroyed the Minbari ship.
Yeah, I thought about that also.
Yeah.
But he did technically like die first and then come back, so it's kind of a cheat saying that I'm the only one that survives.
Again, technically.
Zahad-Dum.
Technically, yeah. I think it's more of a metaphorical death than anything else. But
okay,
unless they give us more later. Why do you keep saying it like that as if you're like convinced that he died and came back to life? Like
because he's Jesus.
It can still represent that metaphorically. It doesn't have to be literal to draw that parallel.
I mean, people die in real life and come back.
Okay, so you're saying the big glowy hands of Lorian like gave him mouth to mouth, like we just hold his like, I will give you life, young being.
Yeah, it happens.
What's the so
as long
funny?
as they have the will to live.
What's so funny about this is that, you know, so he brings Lorian with him, and he's just kind of sitting there, and I do love that. And it's not. I don't think it's because of Garibaldi's programming. I think this is like something Garibaldi would be doing anyway, even if he wasn't.
So who is this guy?
Yeah, he's like, who's this asshole who we're supposed to trust? And Sheridan's like, no, I said we can trust him. Just let him in. But he has intel.
Stop asking things.
Yeah, but he has intel. He tells him about the Vorlons versus the Shadows. He doesn't say that Lorien's older than them, but he is. We know that for a fact.
He does say that he's older than he looks.
Older than, but not older than the Shadows and the Vorlons. Like that's a
right.
I do love the overall idea in the episode though that Ivanova and co go looking for an ancient one or an ancient race, and Sheridan like shows up with one later. Like I do kind of like that as a no here's one I made earlier.
Right.
But yeah, but that's when Lita and Co come in, and it's like, and of course Ivanova and that have figured out that this is, that they've come back with information that this is a Vorlon fleet. This links up with what Sheridan was just saying, and the big news here is that there was an outpost where they believe shadows were hiding, but it was a populated planet. It wasn't just like a shadow planet. It was like there was a colony there of a mix of races. There was about 4 million people, I think Franklin said, and it's like, yeah, they just the planet's gone. They just nuked the entire. They nuked the site from orbit because it was the only way to be sure.
That's right.
So, yeah. So that's it's like, okay, so if they think there's shadows involved or the shadows have made an imprint somewhere, they're just going to nuke the whole thing. And that's now the new concern. And it does kind of leave them with this deflated feeling of like, now we're caught in between like this war of two like these powerful forces that are so far advanced than we are. Like, how do we deal with this?
Yeah, I mean, they're the ants among these gods of the universe, and they have to make themselves noticed without getting wiped out in the process. Like, at least get themselves to be worthy of life.
I
Maybe
think
there's going to be like a trial of humanity and other races in the future. I'm not sure.
I think part of the story of the show at this point, as it's becoming clear, is the idea that not just humans, but all of the races that are kind of on a similar footing in the show. Like, this is going to be about them kind of getting to the point where no, we don't just get wiped out. We are important enough that we're not just ants to you. It's about us ascending in some way to be like a larger part of the universe, I guess. It's a coming of age story of mankind, if you will,
and other races.
And other races. Well, that's the thing. I mean, the other races in many ways are just stand-ins for different types of groups of people, right? In a lot of ways. So, and different
definitely
ideologies.
Star Trek. I don't know about this show, but yeah.
I think in a sense they are, and like for different ideologies, for different cultures, they kind of stand in for a lot of that, because you don't necessarily want to use real things, because then you have to like answer really tough political questions of like accepting or dealing with real problems. Here, because it's all made up races and made up, you can sort of like see the parallels to real things, but they can have resolutions. They can have things that solve the problems because they're not real. It'd be insulting if like they put in like real conflicts in Earth and said, "Oh, but we've resolved the problem of this thing that's never been solved before."
Right.
So
I guess the purple and the green are like the Sunni and Shiites.
It would be like if a show said, "Oh, we've solved all the tensions in Israel." Right? It's just done. We've done it in the show with a magic like MacGuffin. It would be insulting, because it'd be like, well, no, you're making light of a thing that isn't easily solved. But when you're dealing with Centauri, you're dealing with Narn, Minbari, we can have resolutions. We can do things with them. So that's the beauty of it. But yes, so big stuff. We have this. It's almost like, we kind of like won a small victory at the end of last season with a big sacrifice moment, and we felt maybe the most powerful we ever have. And then the start of this season's like, no. You now feel even smaller, because you're just in the middle of these two gargantuans who are at war with each other.
And one of them is determined to wipe you out completely. Yes. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of dread in this episode, but I think the climactic point of Sheridan showing back up on the station with help, with very powerful help, is supposed to be that, that hope from the last episode coming through.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, no, I mean, like I love the ending of the episode. I think it it set up the threat of the season. It doesn't feel like it's not. I mean, it's not a completely new threat, but it kind of like recontextualized and made it feel bigger. And that's impressive because it already felt like the entire universe was at stake. So the fact that they made it bigger somehow is good.
Yeah, now the Vorlons are the enemy. That does feel more, more of a threat.
I mean, the shadows are still the enemy too. Let's not pretend.
The shadows are not wiped out.
Let's not pretend that the shadows are suddenly the good guys. The shadows are still more villainous. The Vorlons are just like this, like completely neutral. Like we're just going to kill everything now because it's too dangerous to let the infection spread.
Right.
So now it's like, oh shit, everyone's against us.
Right.
For various
literally
reasons.
the whole universe.
So should be fun. Obviously, we do have to talk about Centauri Prime. We have to talk about Londo and G'Kar. I dug a lot of this stuff as well. The key concept to this plot is the idea that the Emperor is furious that G'Kar's not entertaining enough because he's not screaming when they're torturing him. So the idea that Londo has to go to G'Kar and say he's going to kill you because you're not amusing enough if you don't give in. So it's almost like a really sadistic, and not that Gladiator was a lighthearted story anyway, but you know how in Gladiator it's like you have to play to the crowd, you have to put on the show to buy time for, you know, the ultimate rescue plan or whatever. It's kind of the same. Are you not
entertained?
Yeah, it's the same thing here almost in an even darker way, where it's like, I know you've got your pride and you don't want to give in, but to draw this out so we can eventually kill the Emperor, you're going to have to like give him a little bit of satisfaction and scream. And G'Kar doesn't want to. G'Kar's like saying no. Then they've got him dressed up the first time we see him in a jester outfit. It's really sad. Poor Veer, even Londo's like having a hard time looking at it, and it's all really good stuff. And I did enjoy when the Emperor comes out and his hands are covered in blood and he's like just casually talking about trying to like, get G'Kar to scream, and it's like, oh, I thought I cut off his hands, and then it's like, and there's the joke ending because Veer at the start of the scene said something to the effect of, is there no other way, like, do we have to assassinate? We're surely we're better than this. He tries to like talk Londo out of it, and then after this conversation with the Emperor, he turns and says, I was wrong, we need to kill him.
Right.
He's just too evil. So
Veer still seems like he's got a little bit of a change of style going on. Like he's still a little low energy.
Well, the comments
he tries a lot more in this. I mean, I still love Veer.
Yeah,
I love seeing them in here. And
the comments pointed out he lost a lot of weight between seasons. He had some health issues or something. So that explains why he looks so different.
Maybe he's like medicated. Yeah.
But I mean, it is actually true. Like, it's funny how being a little bit more curvy does make you look a bit younger, because he did sort of, I feel like now he's not actually that different in age to the actor who plays Londo, and now I can kind of see that he's close in age, whereas before he did feel younger. He did feel like he was of a younger generation.
Now he's got a little bit more sallowness in the cheeks.
But it's not a big deal, obviously. I mean, whatever reason it happened for, like, you know, whatever.
Health is more important, obviously.
Yeah. But I enjoyed this scene. I do think Veer is like bringing up their like, I mean, Londo tells him to shut up when he tries to use the word conspiracy. But like, stop talking about murdering the Emperor. Someone's going to hear you.
They're not like in a private room either.
they're out in they've obviously redesigned the set of the garden from Babylon 5 into like the garden of the Centauri Palace.
You don't know who's behind those plants.
I know.
This Emperor is crazy. You might have people everywhere.
Yeah, and he's literally the one who comes walking out of the door, like in front of them, like 10 seconds later. Like, come on.
Plus, like, with a bunch of guards.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a moment when both Veer and Londo are sent to the Emperor. We don't know why, into this dark cave. And it's like, oh, well, clearly they heard Veer talking about murdering them. So.
No, we're here to see G'Kar get flogged with an electric whip.
Yeah.
Just to make it sci-fi. Apparently he will die exactly at 40. This was a little silly that there was an exact number. I felt like you could have made it just as like dramatic and tense. The idea that he's getting weaker and weaker after each hit, and then like he screams, and you'd get the idea that one more might kill him. You don't necessarily have to put a number on it.
Maybe it was there in order to trick G'Kar into thinking that he would die at number 40, so he would break at 39.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, but even I just question that there's a specific number at which you will definitely die at. It's a bit weird, but
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree.
Other
But
than
it
that,
is a space whip.
other than that, though, I do love the scene. Like I love Londo like looking concerned and just like mouthing, "Scream, just please scream, like do it." In fact, we even glossed over the scene where where Londo goes to say all this to Jakar. He's like, "Hey, you have to like give him what he wants and scream a bit." I really like the ending of the scene in particular, where Jakar says, "You don't know you don't know what it is you're asking of me. You don't understand it," and Londo says, "I do." And he repeats it. He says, "No, I understand." Like he says it twice before he leaves the room, and I kind of like that. Like that, and this is like on some levels they are kind of similar, and they will understand like their pride.
This is the pride thing, and I think also it probably harkens back to Jakar's father. You know, dying, seemingly like standing up for what he believed in. Also,
oh, that's so important. Like, I mean, I don't know if you've mentioned it yet until this, but the idea that we know like how his father's life ended and like that being such a moment of motivation and a real genesis moment for the character that we know as Jakar, him being in this even more extreme prolonged version of what his father went through, but trying to like survive through it because he has this purpose, because he has this goal of like succeeding and
saving his people.
Yeah, and I love that. I do still think Londo is sincere and he will do what Jakar wants when this is all said and done. But I do also kind of like the idea that like Veer would make him like stick to his word if he get tempted. I think Veer over time has become closer and closer to just calling out Londo on his bullshit, and I think that might be the line where Veer says, "No, I'm not letting you make this choice," and it becomes like I'm not thinking it will go that way. But I feel like that might be where it finally would happen.
Yeah. Trying to think back to the Majel Barrett prophecy, where like Londo was going to have like 3 choices to make to where he would have redemption. Yeah. One of them was like the eye, like save the eye that does not see.
Yeah.
I can't remember the other ones.
Yeah.
So
I'll have to look them up again so we can talk about them again with a bit more context now that he's in a new situation. We have a plot idea for the season. Yeah, we should probably look at those again and sort of see if we can apply them a little bit to the plot. But
right,
yeah,
I'm reaching and I can't find it.
That's fine. It's really specific, right? So there's a lot of details in this show. Okay. To be fair, the show's usually pretty good that when something does come up that is important to remember a detail like that, they'll usually like give you a quick flashback or
yeah, but the show's also designed to be rewatched, I think.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So
since so much like it comes back, like nothing's wasted in the series, it seems.
No, I think that's something.
Except for Delen's ring in The Gathering, her little torture ring that she has never comes back.
I mean, some stuff gets changed. I mean, especially since that was made in advance of the show, right? That was like a pilot that was made at like early. So
right,
some things, some ideas that they decided don't like just get dropped. I mean, that's not that weird, you know.
Yep.
But no, I mean, I think it is really impressive when you watch this show. Like, I think as you start getting towards the end of season 2, you really start to feel the idea that everything will come back in some way and everything was important, and then. Now that we're in season 4, it's almost just like non-stop because there's so much built up at this point that you can constantly have that. It just takes a little bit of building to get there, and here we are. But yeah, of course, Jakar does eventually scream. He screams before number 40, and it's like a sad moment, but it's a necessary moment. He must endure.
He must live.
Endure, master.
We don't know
win.
if really he would have died at 40. Like it could have been the Emperor just trying to trick him, because what he wants from Jakar is a scream.
Yeah, can I actually point out a piece of direction here? I love the framing of the Emperor in this. So it's a shot of Londo and Veer, but the Emperor's kind of like just sneaking in at the side of the frame. So you get like a really unconventional amount of his face just sort of creeping out the side, and it's very intentionally meant to feel like imposing to their screen space and to us as the viewer. It makes them also feel kind of manic. It's a really smart like direction choice in the cinematography. So obviously it's not like a super flashy show. It's not like watching say Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, which are known for excellent direction constantly. But this does have really smart moments. There's usually some good moments in most episodes where like, there's really some good thought went into the direction and really selling a moment. And this was one of those little moments that stuck out to me.
Yeah.
So it's good stuff. That was an excellent episode. I mean, honestly, the Cole Ivanova awkward romance, like trying to push that forward, is the only thing I think that I would really critique.
I don't like it.
I'm not in love with it either. I'm not.
Yeah.
How satisfying would it be if Cole makes his move at some point and if Ivanova just politely goes, sorry.
You're not my type.
Yeah. I like blondes. Sorry.
I suspect it's going to go the way that you've predicted already. Because they've been writing this for a couple of seasons now.
Yeah.
They want to make this a thing. I don't want it to be a thing.
Maybe they'll do
Ivanova seem to be resisting.
Yeah. What if they do the heroic sacrifice thing where he'll kiss her before he sacrifices himself and that's it, because now he's dead. So we don't have to go through it.
Fine.
And she'll be like, oh, I feel a little bit guilty that I shot him down because he sacrificed himself for me and everyone else. But, oh well, he's dead now.
No, I don't have to worry about it.
Now, where's Bridge Boy?
Oh, Bridge Boy.
Yeah. All right. That's the episode. That's the episode.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Yes. That was an intentional Curb Your Enthusiasm reference. Just we were asked in a comment for a previous episode if we intentionally were referencing Curb, and it's like, yeah. Yes,
I saw that one.
Yes, we like Curb. Curb's a good show. But yes, there you go. That is The Summoning. So lots of big things in play, and looking forward to the next episode. So let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications. All those things are important on YouTube and help grow the channel, so please hit the buttons. Of course, you can also support us financially over at Patreon, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV for as little as $1 per month. I usually make Tara do this Patreon plug. I don't know why I'm not, but I've already done it now.
You're doing a great job.
Yeah, I've done it now, so that's right, Peter. Yeah, it sounds good. Yeah. So thank you very much once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching Babylon 5. Just don't give away the homeworld.